So, do you remember that ship that ran aground? The Norwegian Escape? You know, the one that couldn't escape the outgoing tides? Well, they took that ship out of service for nearly a month, and lo and behold, she's going back out of service again for another dry dock. So what's going on here? Naturally, this is going to cause a fair amount of canceled cruises, and Norwegian is not the only company canceling a fair amount of cruises now, because we also need to talk about an Alaska cruise operator who's cutting cruises just days before they're set to depart. Yeah, it's cancellation day in a big way. Plus, one cruise operator is bringing back certain onboard requirements that we haven't seen commonly on board cruise ships for several months now. Some call it strict, others call it smart. We'll tell you all about it. Let's roll the intro. Welcome to the Midships channel. I'm your Captain Corey, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. And I'd like to welcome all of the new folks who've been enjoying my content over the past few days. I've noticed a sharp rise in viewership here on the channel, and I want you to know that I really appreciate you so very much for taking some time out of your day. Thank you to everyone who tunes in for my daily cruise news. And just like usual, we're starting things off with a question of the day. And today's question, if you could give one piece of advice to a brand new cruiser, what would that be? Let me know your answer down in the comments below this video. Now for my part, my advice for a brand new cruiser is make sure you're well informed. Do your research, make sure that the ship, the venues on board, and the destinations are what you're interested in. And part of doing research is making sure you're watching all of the wonderful content creators here on the YouTube platform. Now let's get into today's cruise news. We're talking heavily about Norwegian Cruise Line today. Everything from their CEO, Frank Del Rio, who I have a love-hate relationship with that gentleman, to a cruise ship that ran aground going back into dry dock unannounced. And let's start there. So I know you're busy in life and you probably don't always absorb the cruise news and remember it quite as much as I do. So I'm going to give you a quick Cliff Notes update here on where this all began. Back in March of this year, the Norwegian Escape had to be taken out of service after running aground. This all happened down in the Dominican Republic, and she was out of service for almost a month while emergency repairs were made to the vessel. Well, fast forward, the Escape has been put back into service, and things have been going about normal as you would expect, as far as I know. However, Norwegian recently released an update saying that the cruises scheduled aboard the Escape from September 8th of this year through October 2nd of this year would be canceled. Ugh, cancellation day. I feel you on that one. I've been there myself in the past few months. Thanks, Royal Caribbean, Independence of the Seas. Now, the Escape will be sailing over in Europe at that time of year. Currently, the Escape is homeported in Port Canaveral, but she is slated to do a summer season out of Civitavecchia in Italy. Spell that one if you can in the comments. It's one of my favorite words here on the channel. So, the cruise line has been pretty tight-lipped about why the dry dock is occurring for Escape. Of course, your mind, like mine, is probably running to the fact that the ship ran aground and hurriedly had to go into dry dock for repairs in the past couple of months. However, it's also important to remember that cruise ships are maintained and they go into dry dock every few years. I believe the number is about every 3 years, just to make sure they're safe for you to be on them as a passenger. So with that in mind, the last time the Escape went into dry dock was way back in October of 2020. So she's not quite at the 3-year mark since being fully dry docked. However, it's coming pretty darn close to that. So it's not necessarily that she's going in as a result of the grounding incident, but with that said, there could still be ongoing issues for that ship as a result of it. And it could just be an instance where the cruise ship's already in Europe. Europe's where the dry dock's most likely to take place. So what better time to go ahead and send the ship in a few months early, take care of any lasting problems from the grounding incident, and check off the triannual dry dock. It makes a lot of sense to me, but unfortunately, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to those of you who are now facing a cancellation. Now, with that said, Norwegian Cruise Line is making even more headlines today as their CEO, Frank Del Rio, has come out in a press release thanking all of the crew and team members at Norwegian for their successful cruise restart. And I think it's important that CEOs come out like this to help remind the little guy and the little gal who are working for them that they truly are appreciated and valuable to the companies that they work at. So good work, Frank Del Rio. And for all those of you out there who say I'm just a Norwegian cruise line hater, or I come down too hard on CEO Del Rio, well, what do you have to say about this story? Now, with that said, I do still need to book onboard Norwegian Cruise Line sometime this year. I did promise you here at the channel that I would do that. I'm working on it. I don't have anything to announce quite yet, but as far as cruises I am booked on, well, there is my group cruise later this year. On October 24th, I'm sailing on board the Carnival Sunshine out of Charleston, South Carolina. I would love for you to join me on board that cruise. It's 5 nights. We're going down to Half Moon Cay and stopping in Nassau. I have some really cool group activities planned. We're gonna be eating dinner together every night. If you'd like to catch all the details about how you can join me, there's a link to a Facebook page for the group in the description below. Well, sadly, the tale of cancellation day is far from over here on today's channel, and we're taking things way up north to Alaska. Yes, cruising where it's cold. Imagine that. But it is beautiful up there, so I guess I can imagine that. A cruise line named Holland America has just come out and informed guests their cruise that's just a few days away, not happening. Now, these cancellations are supposedly due to staffing shortages on the cruise ships, and it's a very specific itinerary that Holland is canceling here. It's what's called the Youkon and Denali Cruise options, and the impacted sailings were aboard the New Amsterdam for cruises beginning as soon as June 14th, which is a week away by my calculations. Other ships and other sailing dates will also be affected. However, I've not received all of that information yet, but as soon as I do, I will share it with you here on the channel. And don't forget, if you ever have any cruise tips or insider information, you can always find me on Facebook at Midships, on Instagram at Midships Cruise, or you can email me cruise tips at midshipsvideos@gmail.com. And most of you out there in the Midships family know that these staffing shortages have been an ongoing thorn in the side of the cruise industry for several months now. And it's not just staffing shortages, it's supply side shortages as well. And don't forget, with fuel prices hitting record highs almost every day this month, it's only going to be a matter of time until the penny drops and one of these cruise lines tacks on an additional fuel surcharge. And you better believe as soon as they do that, all the other lines will happily jump on board with their added fuel surcharges as well. So make sure you're keeping that in mind and in your budget. If you're cruising over the next 3 to 6 months, you could have a bill of an extra $100 to $120 on your cruise that you didn't plan for. Okay, let's pivot here and talk about just how at home I feel every time I'm on a cruise ship. And I feel so at home, in fact, that I made a t-shirt about it. In fact, I made a t-shirt about a lot of things related to cruising. And if you want to feel at home on board a cruise ship in a shirt like this, well, it's available in my Amazon merch store, along with about 10 other cruise-related shirt designs. All of them are nice looking shirts, and it's a great way to support this channel while looking like a boss on your next cruise. Check them out in the links down below. Now, let's talk about Princess Cruise Line. They're bringing back something that we haven't seen for at least a few months on board ships. And that's a face masking requirement. At least one ship, the Island Princess, which is currently sailing, has brought back the masking policy out of what the cruise line calls an abundance of caution. Now, obviously, this is in response to a larger than expected number of COVID cases amongst the passengers and crew on board the Island Princess. So in response to the extra COVID cases, the cruise line is bringing back the face mask policy indoors. You're still safe to take them off outdoors though. And remember, the cruise line has the right to do this. It's right there in black and white in your cruise contract. This can be required at any time of you. And on the current voyage, which departed May 26th, everyone on board the Island Princess must wear that face mask now. So wow, there you have it. Masks are back on board the high seas. So if you made it this far into today's episode, thank you so much for watching all the way through to the end. It is so helpful to me and the growth of this channel. I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today. And until tomorrow, we'll see ya on the Midships. I am in the mood for some ice cream tonight. Tell me, have you ever eaten at a place called Grater's Ice Cream? I showed it on the channel a few months ago. It's based in Ohio, but you can buy it in the freezer section, at least at Walmart I know you can. Grater's Ice Cream. Check it out, the black raspberry chip. That's on my mind. See you tomorrow. La, 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 la.
la 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 la